Under the pale light of 2 moons, the alien mother knelt beside a tiny grave. The air was cold, thin, and heavy with silence. Her trembling hands touched the carved stone, tracing the name of her child, Lyra. Her eyes were swollen from endless nights of crying, but the pain still burned fresh. She whispered softly, "Sleep well, my little one. Mama is still here." Around her, the alien world was dark and still. No birds sang, no breeze moved the glowing plants. It was as if the planet itself mourned with her. The sickness had come fast, a strange disease that arrived after a human cargo ship passed near their colony. It took many lives, and when it reached her daughter, even the best healers of her kind could do nothing. They said the child's body could not survive the infection. They said to let go. But how could a mother ever let go? She had buried the small body with her own hands, tears mixing with the red dust of her world. Every night since she came back here, alone, heartbroken, whispering prayers to stars that never answered. Far above the planet, in the endless dark of space, a small human exploration ship drifted through the sector. Its name was Odyssey Dawn, captained by Ethan Cole, a man known for taking risks to help those others had forgotten. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He had left Earth's wars behind long ago. Now he helped stranded colonies and lost worlds. When the distress beacon flickered across his radar, he almost ignored it. Most signals out here were old, dead, but something in his gut told him to check it out. He changed course and descended toward the desolate surface. The scanner showed no life signs. Only wreckage, an abandoned research outpost half buried under sand and vines. Ethan grabbed his mask and flashlight, stepping into the ruins. The air smelled of burnt metal and decay. There were signs of panic. Overturned chairs, medical pods shattered, logs still flickering on broken screens. He played one of the last recordings. An alien doctor appeared, voice trembling. "We tried the human serum. It failed. The child's heartbeat is gone." Ethan froze. A child? He looked around the ruined lab. The cold crept through his suit, but he kept walking, following a faint sound, a slow, rhythmic beep coming from the corner. Behind a pile of fallen debris, half buried, a cryopod flickered weakly. The pod's glass was cracked and the power light was fading. He brushed away the dust and peered inside. A small figure lay motionless, covered in frost. Her skin shimmered with faint bioluminescent patterns like soft stars under her skin. Ethan's breath caught. "You're alive?" he whispered. He pressed his scanner against the glass. A weak heartbeat blinked across the screen. Barely there, but there, he worked fast. He connected power cells from his suit to the cryopod, praying the circuit still worked. The hum of energy filled the air and the pod lights flickered brighter. The child's chest moved once, then again. A soft sigh escaped her lips and her small hand twitched. Ethan felt something hit him deep inside. A child left to die. Alone. Forgotten. "Not today," he said firmly. "You're not dying today." He lifted the pod onto a hover sled and pulled it toward his ship. Outside, the wind began to howl as if the planet didn't want to let her go. Sand and dust whipped against his armor, but he kept moving, shielding the pod with his body. When he reached Odyssey Dawn, he slammed the hatch shut and yelled, "Power to medbay, now!" The ship's AI responded with concern. "Captain, that's not human DNA." "I know," Ethan said, locking the pod onto the medical bay. "But it's still a life." He watched as the machines worked, feeding warmth and oxygen into the pod. The child's heartbeat grew stronger. Her eyelids fluttered open slightly, revealing faintly glowing violet eyes. For a second, they met his gaze. Her lips parted and she whispered a word in her own language, a word that sounded like mother. Ethan's chest tightened. "Don't worry, little one," he said softly. "You'll see her again." Outside, the planet's twin moons glowed brighter, casting their light upon the lonely grave far away. The alien mother still knelt there, crying, unaware that far above her world, her child, the one she believed dead, was breathing again in the arms of a human. And in that silent moment between two worlds, destiny quietly began to change. The hum of the ship's engines filled the quiet medbay. The small alien child lay inside a glowing chamber, tubes running across her tiny arms, chest rising and falling weakly. Captain Ethan Cole stood beside her, eyes fixed on the screen showing her heartbeat. Slow, fragile, but there. He hadn't saved anyone in a long time. Not like this. Not someone so helpless. The ship's medic, a grizzled android named A9, scanned the readings. "Captain, her body isn't designed for human conditions," it said in a metallic tone. "Our atmosphere, our medicine, and it could destroy her system." Ethan crossed his arms, his voice steady. "Then we adjust the system. Lower oxygen mix, increase humidity. She's breathing, and that means she's fighting." A9 paused. "Even if she survives, her people will not thank you. You know how they see humans." Ethan gave a faint, tired smile. "Doesn't matter what they think. Saving one life is enough." He sat by the chamber for hours. The stars outside drifted by like glowing embers. The child stirred in her sleep, murmuring words in her alien tongue. The translator couldn't decode them, but Ethan didn't need to. The sound was soft, innocent, a voice that had been silenced too soon. Then suddenly the chamber lights flickered. The heartbeat monitor spiked, alarms blaring. A9 rushed forward. "She's rejecting the atmosphere again." Ethan pulled the emergency mask off the wall, his voice sharp. "Vent nitrogen, stabilize temperature, now!" The child gasped, eyes snapping open. Her small hand reached toward him, trembling, her skin glowing faintly blue beneath the lights. Ethan gently held her fingers through the glass, his voice low but firm. "You're okay, kid. Breathe, just breathe." After a tense minute, the alarms faded. The heartbeat steadied again. Ethan leaned against the pod, sweat on his forehead. "You're stronger than you look," he whispered. A9 tilted its head. "Your methods are unconventional." "Yeah," Ethan said with a faint grin. "But they work." Hours passed. The storm outside the ship worsened, cosmic debris pelting the hull. The navigation system flickered with red warnings. A9 turned to Ethan. "Captain, we must land before the storm tears us apart." "Nearest moon," Ethan said. "Set it down. We'll wait it out." The Odyssey Dawn shook as it descended through glowing dust clouds, landing on the cracked surface of a dead moon. Silence followed, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder in the void. Inside, Ethan checked the child again. Her breathing was smoother now, her color returning. He smiled faintly. "Guess you like it quiet too," he said. The little girl's eyes opened again. She stared at him, unafraid. Her voice was small, uncertain. "Dep." Ethan froze. The word hit him like a spark. "What did you call me?" The translator blinked, processing. "Word meaning caretaker or father." Ethan's throat tightened.
"Father, huh?"
"Well, that's new." The girl tried to sit up but winced, clutching her chest. Ethan quickly helped her lie back. "Easy there. You've been through enough." Her hand brushed his wrist. Her skin was warm now, glowing softly under his touch. She looked into his eyes of a man she didn't know, and yet somehow she trusted him, A9 observed quietly. "She shouldn't be alive, Captain. Her kind doesn't recover from cellular collapse. This should be impossible." Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked at the girl, then at the stars through the viewport. "Maybe humans aren't as useless as they think," he finally said. That night, while the storm howled outside, Ethan recorded a message in his captain's log. Subject: unknown alien child. Condition: improving. Observation: against all logic, she's healing. Maybe it's the hybrid serum I improvised from human nanotech and her cell structure. Maybe it's something else, or something stronger. Hope, maybe. Feels strange saying that again. He ended the log and turned back toward the med bay. The child was asleep again, breathing peacefully. A9 spoke quietly. "What will you do when she recovers?" Ethan exhaled slowly. "I'll take her home, no matter the risk." Outside the ship, the dead moon glowed under the light of the nearby planet. The same world where, far below, an alien mother sat by a grave, whispering to the stars, unaware that her child was no longer buried beneath the soil, but alive, protected in the hands of the very species she had been taught to fear. And as Ethan watched over her, something new began to grow inside him. A feeling he hadn't known since Earth's wars ended. The quiet belief that maybe, just maybe, humanity still had something good left to give. The small alien girl was no longer dying, but she was far from healed. Every hour, Ethan Cole sat beside her pod, watching her heartbeat flicker on the screen like a fragile light that refused to fade. Days had passed since he found her, and in that time, she had learned to breathe on her own, to move her fingers and even whisper soft sounds that almost sounded like laughter. The ship's android, A9, recorded the progress with disbelief. "Captain," it said, its voice echoing through the medbay. "According to all Federation biology reports, her kind cannot survive human serum. Yet she has." Ethan leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. "Guess the reports were wrong." "She's not supposed to live," A9 insisted. Ethan looked at the small child, who was now sitting up weakly, her glowing eyes fixed on him with curiosity. "Maybe that's what makes it a miracle," he replied softly. The girl had started mimicking sounds she heard on the ship, the beeps, the hums, and even Ethan's voice. When he said food, she tried to repeat it, her voice broken but bright. Ethan laughed for the first time in months. He hadn't laughed since the war. Not since the day he lost his crew. As the hours turned into days, Ethan continued his work, mixing human nanotech stabilizers with traces of alien enzymes found in the MedLab archives. No one had ever tried combining the two before. It was dangerous, even illegal by galactic standards. But Ethan wasn't following rules anymore. He was following hope. He documented everything, every dose, every response, every heartbeat. He wasn't trying to play God. He just wanted proof that a human could save a life without destroying it. Late one night, while the stars drifted past the viewport, Ethan sat across from the girl who was now awake and drawing shapes in the condensation on the pod glass. She drew circles, stars, and then a stick figure. Two of them. One big, one small. Ethan smiled faintly. "That's you and your mother, huh?" The girl tilted her head, confused, then tapped her chest and pointed at him. "Duh." He froze. She had said that before, but this time, her tone was clear, almost proud. "Not your father," Ethan said quietly, though his heart ached as he said it. "Just someone trying to get you home." The girl blinked slowly and smiled, small fangs showing as she laughed softly. Her laughter echoed through the ship like a melody the stars hadn't heard in years. But beneath that warmth, danger was already rising. The alien species she belonged to, the Vailari, were known for their hatred of humans. To them, humans were reckless wanderers who spread disease and ruin. Their military patrols destroyed any human ships found in their territory. And Ethan was flying straight toward their space. A9 warned him again. "Captain, if we approach Vailari space, they will shoot on sight. The child may live, but you will not." Ethan adjusted the ship's course manually, his jaw set. "If I die trying to bring her home, so be it. She deserves to see her mother again." The AI hesitated. "You risk your life for an alien who doesn't know your name?" Ethan looked down at the girl. She was sleeping again, holding the small blanket he had wrapped her in days ago. "She doesn't have to know my name," he said softly. "She just needs to know humans didn't give up on her." Outside, the void shimmered with the glow of nearby nebulas. The ship's engines hummed like a heartbeat in the dark. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped. Ethan leaned forward. "What is it?" A9's voice sharpened. "Signal detected. Vailari patrol ship approaching fast." Ethan's pulse quickened. "How far?" 30,000 kilometers and closing." He cursed under his breath. "We can't outrun them." He switched off external lights and rerouted power to stealth mode. "Hold everything steady." The girl stirred in her sleep as the ship drifted silently among the stars. Ethan's hands gripped the controls, sweat forming on his brow. He whispered, "Don't see us. Please don't see us." After what felt like hours, the sensors went silent. The patrol had passed. Ethan exhaled deeply and leaned back, exhaustion hitting him all at once. The girl opened her glowing eyes, sensing his worry. She reached out and touched his arm gently. "Duh. Safe?" she whispered. He nodded slowly, a tired smile on his lips. "Yeah, little one. Safe, Yun, for now." The AI broke the silence. "You realize what this means, Captain? A human saved a Vailari child. If they ever learn the truth, it could change everything." Ethan's gaze softened as he looked at her. "Then let's make sure they do." Outside the viewport, the nearest planet glowed faintly, the Vailari homeworld. He was close now. too close to turn back. Far below, under the light of 2 moons, a mother still knelt beside a grave, praying for her child's soul. She didn't know that her prayers had already been answered, not by her gods, not by her people, but by a human she had never met. The Odyssey Dawn drifted through the cold silence of deep space, its engines running low to avoid detection. Inside, the faint hum of the ship mixed with the quiet breathing of the alien child. She was stronger now, walking a little, smiling often, and learning words faster than Ethan could teach them. But every time she said "da," his heart twisted. Because he knew soon he'd have to let her go. Ethan stood before the wide viewport staring at the distant blue-green glow of the Vailari homeworld. It shimmered like a jewel among the stars, a world beautiful and deadly for humans. He had read enough reports to know what would happen if they caught him entering their airspace. No warning. No mercy. Just destruction. A9. The ship's android medic rolled closer. "Captain, if you cross that border, there's no coming back. The Vailari Empire still sees humans as invaders." Ethan's eyes didn't move from the planet. "Then I'll be the first invader who brings someone home instead of taking something away." The android's voice softened, almost human. "You've already done the impossible. You could stay safe. The girl could live here." Ethan finally turned to face it. "And grow up thinking her mother's gone? No. She deserves the truth, even if it kills me." He adjusted the ship's course. The engines hummed louder, and the Vailari world grew larger through the glass. Down the corridor, the little girl, Lyra, played with a small toy Ethan had made from spare parts. It spun and flashed tiny lights, making her giggle softly. When she saw him pass, she ran forward and hugged his leg. "Da," she said, then pointed at the planet outside. "Home?" Ethan knelt beside her. "Yes, little one. Home." She smiled, but her eyes showed confusion. She didn't remember much, only shadows, flashes of faces, and the sound of her mother's voice. But when Ethan said home, she understood. Moments later, alarms echoed through the cockpit. The ship's AI spoke in a warning tone. "Multiple Vailari patrols detected. They've locked onto our trajectory." Ethan's heartbeat quickened. "They're early." A9 activated the defense shields. "They'll fire within minutes. What's the plan?" Ethan smirked slightly, despite the tension. "The plan? We tell them the truth." He opened a communication channel. A harsh alien voice immediately filled the cabin. "Unidentified human vessel, you are trespassing in restricted territory. Turn back or be destroyed." Ethan pressed the comm. "This is Captain Ethan Cole of the human ship Odyssey Dawn. I come with no weapons. I carry a Vailari child, alive." Silence followed, then laughter, cold and cruel. "Lies. No human could heal one of ours. You insult us." Ethan's tone hardened. "Scan my ship. You'll find her here, breathing. I found her abandoned in a destroyed outpost. She was dying. She's alive because we helped her." Another pause. This time longer. The comm crackled again. "Remain where you are. Do not move." Ethan exhaled slowly. That's either good or very bad. A few moments later, 3 massive Vailari ships appeared through the clouds surrounding Odyssey Dawn. Their metallic hulls shimmered with blue energy, ready to strike. Ethan raised his hands, stepping away from the controls. "We surrender," he said quietly. The child, sensing his tension, grabbed his arm. "Duh, no hurt." He forced a calm smile. "It's okay, Lyra. No one's going to hurt us." A bright light filled the cabin as a transport beam activated. In a blink, Ethan and the girl were lifted off the ship, appearing on the deck of a Vailari command cruiser. Guards surrounded them instantly, weapons aimed. Ethan stood tall, holding Lyra close. She hid her face against his chest, trembling. A tall alien commander stepped forward, her silver armor reflecting the light. "Human," she hissed. "Explain this." Ethan gently lifted the child so they could see her face. "You said your people couldn't survive our medicine. You were wrong." The commander froze. Her eyes widened. That mark, she whispered. The crest on her wrist. It belongs to the House of Sail. The child of Chief Mara. Gasps filled the hall. The commander stepped back, shock in her expression. That child is dead. Ethan shook his head. Not anymore. The commander's eyes flicked from the girl to the human, disbelief turning into awe. How? Ethan's voice was steady. Because humans don't give up on life, not even when it seems impossible. The commander lowered her weapon slowly, signaling her guards to stand down. A whisper spread among the soldiers. He brought back one of ours. A human did this. And somewhere deep within the planet's capital, sensors picked up the commander's message. The lost child of Myra lives. She was brought home by a human. Down on the surface, far below, an alien mother felt something stir in her heart, as if a whisper from the stars told her to look up. Her tears stopped. For the first time since the grave was dug, she felt warmth again, and high above, Ethan held the child close, unaware that his act of kindness was about to change everything, not just for one mother, but for two worlds. The air on the Vailari command ship was heavy and tense. Every soldier stood frozen, staring at the small child in Ethan's arms. No one dared to breathe. The glow from her skin, soft blue with faint golden lines, was unmistakable. Every Vailari knew what it meant, the mark of the chief's bloodline. The commander dropped to one knee, her voice trembling. That child, she belongs to Mara, chief of the Central Clan. She was declared dead. Ethan didn't speak. He just held the girl tighter as she looked around. Frightened by the alien faces and harsh voices. Tuh, she whispered, burying her face in his chest. The commander raised her hand. Lower your weapons now. The guards obeyed immediately, confusion and awe spreading across their faces. No human had ever set foot here without being shot. And now one stood before them, carrying the impossible in his arms. Moments later, Ethan was escorted through the shimmering corridors of the Vailari flagship. The walls pulsed with soft light like the inside of a living creature. Soldiers whispered as he passed, their eyes flicking between him and the child. At the end of the hall stood two enormous doors marked with ancient runes. They opened slowly, revealing a grand chamber. Inside, surrounded by guards and advisors, stood a tall alien woman with silver blue skin, eyes bright with sorrow and strength. Chief Mara. She turned sharply when she saw the human. Her voice was sharp, commanding. Why have you brought this creature here? Ethan took a slow breath and stepped forward. Because I think you've lost something. Myra's words caught in her throat as she looked at the small figure in his arms. Her heart stopped. The child lifted her head, blinking at the familiar voice, and softly said, Mama. For a moment, no one moved. Then Myra stumbled forward, disbelief painted across her face. No, this cannot be. She reached out a trembling hand, touching the girl's cheek. The warmth, the glow, the tiny scar under her eye, it was real. It was her daughter. A cry tore from her lips as she pulled the child into her arms. Lyra, my little star. I buried you with my own hands. Her voice broke. How are you alive? The room filled with gasps. Advisors covered their mouths. Soldiers turned away, tears forming in their eyes. No one dared to interrupt the moment. Ethan stood silently, his eyes soft. He had faced war, fire, and death, but nothing in his life compared to this moment. Mara looked up at him, tears streaming down her cheeks. Human, what did you do? Ethan spoke quietly. I found her in an abandoned lab. She was barely alive. I used human medicine, our technology, to bring her back. I didn't know who she was. I just knew she needed help. Myra pressed her forehead against her daughter's. You saved her. When our healers could not? Ethan nodded. We're not enemies, Chief, we never were. The hall fell into silence again. No one spoke. Then Mara slowly stood, holding her daughter close. For years we blamed your kind for her death. We believed humans brought only disease and ruin, but now, I see I was wrong. She turned toward her people. This human did what no Vailari could. He gave life back. The soldiers bowed their heads. Some dropped to their knees. The commander who had captured Ethan whispered, He brought back the chief's child. And peace. Mara faced Ethan again. You risked your life to return her. Why? Ethan smiled faintly. Because that's what parents do. They fight for their kids no matter the danger. And maybe that's something both our kinds understand. The chief stepped closer and extended her hand. You have saved my heart, human. You have saved our future. She pressed a glowing crystal into his palm, a sacred Valari symbol of trust. From this day, no human ship will be fired upon in this system. You have my word. Ethan looked at the crystal, then at the smiling child. That's more than enough for me. Lyra reached for him again, her small hands glowing softly. Da, she said, looking between her mother and him. Mama safe. Da safe. Mayra's lips trembled, her eyes full of warmth. She calls you father? Ethan chuckled quietly. Guess she decided that on her own. Mayra smiled for the first time in years. Then you will always have a place among us, Ethan Cole of Earth. The crowd bowed deeply. For the first time in living memory, a human was honored, not feared, and as mother and child held each other tight, the stars outside the window seemed to glow brighter, like the galaxy itself was watching, whispering that a miracle had just been born from the heart of humanity. Word of the miracle spread faster than light. Across the Valari homeworld, the story echoed through every hall, every city. Every broadcast, a human saved the chief's daughter. The impossible had happened. Life restored where death had taken hold. And the one who did it wasn't a Valari healer, nor a machine, but a simple human captain with worn hands and tired eyes. Ethan Cole stood on a high balcony overlooking the capital. The skyline shimmered with glowing towers and floating bridges. Yet all he could think about was how small he felt among them. Behind him, Chief Mayra approached, her daughter Lyra skipping happily by her side. The little girl held a small glowing stone, a gift from Ethan. Da rock, she said proudly, clutching it tight. Mayra smiled softly, her eyes filled with emotion. She speaks your words now. You have given her more than life. You've given her hope. Ethan turned and bowed his head slightly. She gave me something too, Chief. A reason to believe again. Mayra looked out at the horizon where thousands of Valari gathered to witness what would soon become a historic moment. Our worlds have been enemies for generations, she said quietly. We told our children that humans were reckless and cruel. But now, they cheer your name. Ethan shook his head. They shouldn't cheer for me. They should cheer for what we can do together. Moments later, the sound of drums echoed through the capital. The great hall doors opened and Mayra led Ethan to a massive platform surrounded by glowing crystal banners. Lyra walked between them holding both their hands, one alien, one human, her small smile bridging a galaxy of hate. The crowd fell silent as Mayra spoke. Her voice carried across the city. My people, we were wrong. We buried our hope the day we buried my child. But this human, she gestured toward Ethan, showed us what it means to fight for life. Not for power, not for victory, but for compassion. She paused, her eyes glistening. He crossed our forbidden skies with no army, no weapons, only the courage to return what we had lost. And in doing so, he gave life not just to my daughter, but to our faith in others. The crowd began to murmur, awe spreading like fire. Then the commander from the Valari fleet stepped forward and bowed deeply before Ethan. The human speaks truth. I saw it with my own eyes. Ethan's heart pounded. He had faced soldiers before, but never ones bowing to him. Mayra raised her hand. From this day, the Valari will no longer call humans destroyers. We will call them what they have proven to be, healers. The words sent ripples through the crowd. Cheers erupted, echoing through the glowing towers. Some fell to their knees. Others reached out, trying to touch the air around Ethan as if he were something divine. Ethan smiled awkwardly, whispering to Lyra, Guess your people really know how to make a guy blush. She giggled, tugging at his sleeve. Da, hero. He crouched down beside her, eyes soft. No, kid. You're the miracle. Later that night, the two worlds' news networks filled the air with images. The human and the chief's daughter walking hand in hand. Scientists from across the galaxy requested access to Ethan's data, eager to study how human nanotech saved an alien child. And deep within the Federation archives, something changed. The human species, once marked as reckless, was now labeled compassionate innovators. On Earth, messages poured in from old friends, allies, and even rivals. Some couldn't believe it. Others simply said, about time someone showed them who we really are. Ethan watched the broadcast quietly from his ship later that night. The Odyssey Dawn was docked at the Vailari capital, repaired and gleaming under the twin moons. Lyra was asleep in a soft blanket nearby, holding her glowing stone. A9's voice broke the silence. "You've altered history, Captain. Do you realize that?" Ethan looked at the sleeping child and smiled faintly. "I didn't change history. I just reminded it what humans can do when we care." Outside, stars shimmered across the black ocean of space, brighter than before, as if the universe itself was watching humanity take its first step toward something greater. And for the first time in centuries, two civilizations, human and Vailari, looked up at the same sky, not with fear but with hope. A hope born not from war, not from conquest, but from a single act of compassion that no one thought possible. A human had given life back to an alien child, and in doing so, had given life back to the galaxy itself. The twin moons hung over the valley, casting a silver glow across the red soil. The same grave that once lay cold and lonely now shimmered with new life. Strange blue flowers, ones that had never grown on this planet before, now bloomed across the mound, glowing softly in the night. Chief Myra stood before it, her daughter Lyra holding her hand tightly. For the first time in many cycles, the wind didn't feel empty. It carried warmth, as if the planet itself had begun to breathe again. Beside them, Captain Ethan Cole stood quietly, his eyes tracing the carved symbols on the grave. He remembered this place, the coordinates from the old log he found in the ruined lab. This was where the mother had cried every night, believing her child was gone. Now that same mother smiled. Lyra knelt down and placed a small crystal flower she'd made herself on the grave. "Mama says I slept here before," she whispered softly. "But I don't remember." Mara knelt beside her. "Because you were sleeping a deep sleep, my star. One that only love could wake." Lyra looked up at Ethan and grinned. "Da woke me." Ethan chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Guess I just got lucky." Myra turned to him, her expression soft and full of gratitude. "You did more than that, human. You changed how we see the universe. You showed us that even in the cold of space there is warmth left in your kind." Ethan's eyes moved over the grave again. "I didn't do it for fame or history. I did it because no parent should feel what you felt." She nodded, her gaze lowering. "And yet through that pain we found peace." A gentle breeze swept through the valley, stirring the glowing flowers. For a moment it almost felt like the grave itself was alive, not as a reminder of death but as a symbol of rebirth. Ethan knelt, touching the soil. The flowers pulsed faintly under his fingertips, their glow syncing with his heartbeat. "You know," he said quietly, "these plants, they weren't here before. I think the nanotech I used to heal her mixed with the soil." Myra raised an eyebrow. "So even your science brings life?" Ethan smiled. "Guess that's one way to apologize to the universe." They both laughed softly, a sound that echoed through the empty valley, filling it with something it hadn't held in years: joy. Above them, a formation of Vailari ships glided silently through the sky, releasing streams of light that spiraled down like rain. Each beam carried tiny seeds, genetically enhanced from Lyra's cells, designed to purify the planet's dying air. The once barren valley would bloom again, because of a human. Ethan watched the lights fade and whispered, "Looks like she's healing your world too." Myra looked at her daughter with pride. "She carries both worlds in her veins, and the science of humans and the spirit of Vailari. Perhaps that's what the universe wanted all along." Lyra turned to Ethan, her voice soft but clear. "Da, you go home now?" The question struck deep. He had thought about it, returning to Earth, to the old ruins and quiet oceans, but now he wasn't sure where home was anymore. "I'll visit," he said finally, smiling gently, "but I think a part of me will stay here. Someone's got to make sure those flowers keep growing." Lyra hugged his leg tight. "Promise?" He knelt and hugged her back. "Promise." As they stood together in the moonlight, Myra placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You gave me back my daughter. You gave my people hope. You may not call this world home, but you will always have one here." Ethan looked out across the valley, the grave, the flowers, the stars, and felt something settle in his chest. Peace. The stars shimmered brighter that night, reflecting off the alien flowers below. From orbit, the valley looked like a glowing scar healed over with light. And in the capital city far away, a monument was already being built, a sculpture of a human hand and an alien hand holding a single glowing flower. The plaque below would read, "One life returned, 2 worlds reborn." Ethan took one last look at the grave, whispering, "Rest easy, little one. You brought 2 worlds together." Then he turned toward his ship, the Odyssey Dawn, its lights waiting in the distance. As he walked away, the wind carried the soft laughter of a child and the whisper of a mother's prayer, blending into a melody of peace that echoed through the stars. And as the ship rose into the sky, the valley below shimmered brighter, proof that sometimes even across galaxies, humanity's greatest power isn't technology or strength, it's the heart that refuses to stop caring.